Good afternoon. Looks like everybody, a lot of other people are doing garden tours. So I will go ahead and do a garden tour. And actually this may be three different gardens. I actually do three different gardens at this time. They are my own personal garden at my house. There is a community garden, and there is the new market garden, which I'm trying to get off the ground, and we'll find out if we get to stay at in future years. So slightly different ways of doing everything. I don't use chemicals anywhere. I do till a little bit, as little as I have to at the market garden, but nowhere else. So I'm gonna switch around and we'll start the garden. Grab you some popcorn. Hope you enjoy. Okay, we're going to start this tour with a new addition for me. It's something I've had for a while, but I'm repurposing. I have had this enclosed trailer. When I first bought it, I was going to use it to house all my equipment for beekeeping and for bee removal. I was hoping to actually make a little bit of side money removing bees out of structures, and then hopefully using those to also create new colonies. Due to some regulations that I found in the state that basically made it not worth it, I quit doing that. So I've been removing the lettering off of it, but I left the bee on there because he's kind of cute. But the latest iteration of this trailer, I'm going to use it as my first mobile market garden and farmers market trailer. So I have my pop-up tent in here, I have my trailers, and I have this. This is my 5 cubic foot freezer that I had anyway. I have gotten an external thermometer for it, which turns this into a refrigerator, and in this case a refrigerator on wheels. The battery charger currently, I'm just double checking and topping off. 3 deep cycle batteries. I have a solar charge controller, and it's showing the batteries are charged fully. And I have an inverter. This is a 2000 watt inverter, and did end up getting this at Harbor Freight. I had a 700 watt trip light, and it actually got smoked. So this little 5 cubic foot freezer, when the compressor first kicks on, it was jumping up to about 800, close to 900 watts, and that little 700 just couldn't handle it. Very quickly ended up smoking it. I do have 2 solar panels combined. There's a 60 watt and a 40 watt, so they're about 100 watts total. Everything here I already had, other than the external thermostat. And like I said, I did have one inverter, which I hoped would work, and smoked it, so I had to go buy a new one. This device right there, I've got it configured for cooling. I have it set between 36 and 40 degrees. For eggs in Arkansas, they have to be at 45 degrees or less, and they have to be in a refrigerator. They cannot be in a cooler with ice or anything. So you have to wash them and keep them at 45 degrees or less. A lot of greens apparently keep better, and the closer you get them to freezing without actually freezing them. So that's why I have that set. And then there's an alarm at 50 degrees. So if it ever goes to 50 degrees or above, then the alarm will get my attention. And the way I've got it configured here, I kept it at the back so that I can get to it easy, and if anybody wants to see what the temperature is, they can see it right there. Okay, so that's not actually part of the garden per se, but it is part of the garden effort. Starting at the beginning, at the front, I have just a couple of broccoli rabe there, some lettuce, I've got a small pepper plant, a couple of artichokes, and there's an nasturtium, some bee balm, and a whole bunch of Jerusalem artichokes. Those of you that know what Jerusalem artichokes are probably shaking your head right now. Those that don't, look it up and you'll find out why people are shaking their heads. We've got fruit trees that some usually do well. Pear tree, It's about 3 years old. I don't think I've gotten a pear off of it yet. I'm going to give it a couple more years. He may need another pollinator, yet I've seen other people with pear trees and no, a single pear tree and not another one anywhere that I know of in the neighborhood, within a couple of miles, and it bears. So I'm gonna give it a little while longer. If it doesn't start bearing, then at some point it'll come down. This tree was supposed to be a plum tree, and it ended up being a combination plum and pear. If you look real close, you'll see two different kinds of leaves. So it turned out to have a graft on it. It normally does quite well, especially on the plums, but it did not do too well this time. I'm not sure whether it's we got a late frost or something. This one is a fruit cocktail tree. I have really not gotten a whole lot out of it yet. I may give it one more year, and if I don't start getting some decent fruiting off of it, it's probably going to come out. And then tucked behind, there is another plum tree. The plum and combination plum pear were bought at the same time, planted at the same time, and I usually get a decent amount of plums off of that. Underneath that combination plum pear, there is comfrey, and there is a currant. Under this tree, there are two different currants. And under this one, there's another currant. So I've got two black currants, two red currants underneath these front trees. New for this year, I have an apple tree there, an apple tree there. Yes, and it's between the traffic and the trains, it actually is quite noisy in this neighborhood. But anyway, apple, nectarine, and I believe that's a catalpa tree behind it. That will probably be coming down this year. It gets up in the power lines, and I left it there just to kind of give a little protection to that nectarine until it started, until I knew it was going to do well. There are a couple of Nanking cherries where you see the red flags next to the house. I'm going to see if they do okay there. Coming around to the front, this little box is kind of like a little demonstration for our Crittenden County Community Gardens, of which there really is only one, but I'm hoping to get more going, and that'll be one of the other places that we visit. This box did have potatoes in it, and I just dug them up yesterday. Got a decent little yield. And then in the greenhouse, I had some yellow and white scalloped squash plants, kind of struggling. They should have been set out quite a while ago. So I put them out here, and there's really not enough room for them, but considering they're struggling, I don't expect them all to do well. If one or two of them does pretty well, that should be enough for this box. And then there is a tree spinach there. It's kind of pretty. So I actually haven't ate any. I need to at some point pull some of the leaves and steam them and give them a try. This is my hugel bed. This hugel bed is now on its probably third or fourth year. There used to be two magnolia trees here, and directly under the power lines, the power company would come through and every couple of years and massacre it. So one time, after going through my permaculture design certificate course and learning some other things, kind of sweet talked the crews when they were in the neighborhood. There were some contractors for the entity company, and by the time they got here, when I asked them if they would just cut it down completely and leave everything, they did. Not only did they cut it down completely, they also chopped all the logs up into small enough sizes that I could move them around by hand. The stumps are underneath there. I have not removed the stumps. I just built the hugel bed using the magnolia trees and other materials on top of these stumps. Word of caution, if you have crepe myrtles and you cut crepe myrtles down and you decide to make a hugel bed containing crepe myrtle branches, don't. It's now been, like I said, 3 or 4 years, and they are still trying to come up, not from the stumps. This is not where the crepe myrtles were. They are trying to still come up and propagate just from the branches. I mean, they're like the woody version of monkey grass. So, but it seems to be slowing down. Just every time I see a little bit of a sprig come up, I take it out, and hopefully it's running out of energy. Anyway, on this hugel bed, there is some Swiss chard, which actually overwintered. There is asparagus right there. There are onions. I'll probably put well over 200 onions on this bed, and I actually picked significant number today. There's a couple more that I probably could pick. There are a couple of Brussels sprouts in there. There is the majority of what you're seeing is cantaloupe, which self-seeded from the previous year. So I'm going to let it go. Cantaloupe seem to love this hugel bed. There is another artichoke in there, some bunch of asparagus getting established. There are some strawberries. There are Egyptian walking onions. There's 2 basil plants. There is a tomato plant that I had to put a cage on. There's another artichoke. You see a bunch more of the onions. The whole front bed of this was onions. And I need to get some sluggo out here. I see a slug. It just rained a little bit. So sluggo. There's another asparagus. Oh, and by the way, those big leaves, there, rhubarb. So rhubarb seems to be doing fairly decent. When it gets dry, I've got it on the north side, give it a little bit of protection. When it gets dry, they seem to wilt down, but every time they get a good drink, they really pop up. So the question is going to be, will they like this area well enough to come back next year so I can actually start harvesting? But they seem to be doing pretty well right there. Okay, we'll start walking towards the back, and this particular apple tree, around the base of it, I have put holy basil. I had some seeds. These I either got from the Memphis Botanic Garden or from Jessica down at Roots and Refuge. I don't remember which ones I used, but there is holy basil. Nectarine tree is doing pretty good. Fence needs repaired. I cleaned out my chicken coop, so I'll put just a little bit of the from inside the chicken coop itself, just around this for some nitrogen. I have bees. So there are currently about 10 colonies of bees here in the backyard, and we'll get to some of those other plants there. You see the tomato forest. I am working my way back through here. I did plant them way too close, but I'm working my way back through, staking them up, tying them up, pruning them, pulling suckers off, and rooting some of the suckers. Most of the varieties that I have are from either Baker Creek, Seed Savers Exchange, or the Dwarf Tomato Project. So I have things, I'm trying to go into the dwarfs a little bit, see if I can make a little bit more room and get some more interesting varieties. For instance, this one is a Banksia Queen, which I believe is kind of a yellowish tomato, dwarf one. I've got mint in containers all around. That one is a Gold Nugget Mini. I've got things like Kangaroo Paw. I do have some Dr. Witchy from seeds that I did get from Jessica down at Roots and Refuge again. But you're seeing, got plenty of green tomatoes. I'm just waiting on them to turn red or turn yellow. But there are cherry tomatoes, yellow tomatoes, red tomatoes, a little bit of all different kinds. I'm actually even pulling some of them out when if there's like 2 big ones like that and there turns out to be a very small one right in the middle, I'm just pulling the small one out to make enough room so they can get air and I can get through. Figs, I have 4 fig trees. This one and that one went underneath and kind of cleaned it out a little bit to get some airflow and stuff so there's not so many suckers. These are Violet de Bordeaux. They tend to, here in northeast Arkansas, they tend to start producing around September time. And then I added this year these white Marseilles. Some more of the tomatoes. There are some bell peppers here, and I added some basil. This is a small patch of burgundy okra. This is an apple tree that I planted when I first moved here, and I'll back up a little bit. You can see a little bit more. It got way too big, so I really pruned it back hard as far as height and stuff. This year, I wasn't sure if it was even going to survive, much less produce. It's not really producing. but it is at least surviving, so I'm fine with that. And then this next fall I won't have to prune it near as hard, but I'll shape it up a little bit better, and then maybe next year it'll start producing again. When I first planted it, there was a couple of years there that I was actually composting wheelbarrow loads of apples from it. Back to the bee colonies. Some of these are swarms I caught, some are splits, things of that nature. And the tall one back there is a gift. Somebody went out of the bee business, had a couple extra colonies, and they gave me the two that were left. The reason I have not moved them into the bigger boxes is those are deeps and all my boxes are mediums. So I need to, if I'm gonna keep that one and move it into regular boxes, I need to get me at least one or two deep, probably 8 frame boxes, put them together. One thing that I figured out on that one, if you notice, there's actually 2 telescoping tops. It can get so hot here, and I don't use inner covers. The inner covers just seem to really promote beetles. I had extra tops, so I just kind of put the second top on there and wedged it up, and hopefully that'll take the intense sun, that heat, let it vent off before it actually gets inside, and we'll see if that helps a little bit. Anyway, the tallest plant back there is a elderberry, and I have since found some other elderberries in the area. There are 3 different currants there. There's a blueberry. You see kind of jungly back here in the back. Where is it? Back in there. That is one of the crepe myrtle's stumps that is still trying to come back. So usually when it gets like that, I'll try to sneak back there around the bees and just kind of keep pulling those off, and hopefully that thing will eventually run out of steam and die. I did put some blackberries here and another set of blackberries there, just 5 plants, get them started. And apparently I also put a couple of tomatoes, because there's some tomatoes in there that need staked up or something. I may actually end up pulling them up. But anyway, there's some tomatoes in there. Extra frames, I'm letting them dry out. Well, they should be drying out, but it rained on them. So, but I'm keeping them, the sun getting in there to keep the wax moths getting started. I do have this shed, and this shed is where I started hanging my garlic and onions and things that need to dry out. This is the raspberries bush, and there's 2 rows of raspberries now. There were 3, I took one out. Raspberries are done for the spring. And once the canes that bore this time die, then I need to go in there, thin those out, tie the rest of them up, and make it a little bit easier to get into. I usually get a really good harvest for about a week and a half. I've actually still got raspberries from last year's crop that was in that freezer. Trying to sell them this year, I'm having to learn. I mean, they don't keep very well, so I need to make sure that I can pick them, package them, and sell them before they go bad. Here's a little patch where I've interspersed basil and peppers and put a zucchini in there. You see the fig trees in that raised bush. There are, where the red flags are, there's a couple of goji berries, there's some chives in the middle, and then I've got an interplanting of squash, okra, tomato, I think there's a tomato plant in there, strawberries, some fava beans, all kind of interspersed in there. Have the chicken coop, and that extra little side piece there on the left, there's a 55-gallon water drum in there that I use to as part of the watering system. So he's got his own little shed. That's not out of repurposed. Some of the stuff is repurposed. The windows are repurposed, but everything else is new. No plans, just kind of threw it together and cleaned out the coop today. And that's the litter that was inside there. Now it's gotten rained on, but it's going to go in the compost pile or get spread somewhere. This doesn't have things, food growing in it immediately, just for safety. Here's the main annual garden, and you can see the greenhouse in the background. There is a divider here of grapes, and the grapes at the far end seem to be doing well. This one I guess it's just dead. So it'll come out I need to put another post here in the middle. That other one's kind of struggling, and then the ones that are down there are doing really well. A lot of stuff is interplanted this time, so this is mainly a strawberry bed, and I had to put wire around it because I did have chickens. I mean, not chickens, but the rabbits. And rabbits were really, I had a lot of beets in there as well, and they were just decimating them. So I finally took a two-pronged approach, put the wire around there, and they seem to be doing much better. And then the one or two rabbits that I was able to catch out in the yard, well, let's just say that they were mighty tasty. So here's another spinach substitute in there. There's a few beets left in there. The strawberries are taking off pretty good. I planted onions everywhere this year. I planted about 2,000 onions. Got a sampler and just put them everywhere. Got tomatillos on that side. Second planting in that little area, I put some Momolo basil and some red Reuben basil, but also threw some radishes in there for a quick crop in between, just so that it wouldn't be bare earth. But the red Reuben is that dark one there. And looks like I'm getting some flea beetles or something on these tomatillos, but they still look healthy. You've got sorrel, got a nice lemony taste for your salads. More onions, some Merlot lettuce that's getting nice and tall. There's a sunflower. I don't even remember planting that, but I guess I did. But there's a nice little sunflower there. I got some arches. These are some fava beans. There were a bunch of onions I've already harvested. Fava beans didn't seem to produce a whole lot this time. I really haven't had a whole lot of luck with fava beans. Cucumbers finally starting to go up a little bit here. I'm going to see if I can get them trained up, see if they'll finally take off a little bit there. Elephant garlic is coming out today, and in its place, I think I am going to plant. I either dropped it somewhere or didn't get it in my pocket. Anyway, I have some skunk beans. They're Iroquois. Skunk bean. Got these also from Jessica. Should be a pole bean from up around New York, the Iroquois Indians. So I'm going to put that in this bed going up these two trellises. See how well they do. A bunch more onions there that need to come out. Blueberries, this year I really didn't get the netting over them, so I'm just gonna let the birds have them. I've picked a few, but I'm not gonna stress over it. I've got too many other things going on. I need to eventually do a really good trellising system over them that I can kind of roll the bird netting up and down. If there's no netting, the birds are gonna get them faster than I can pick them. I'm just not gonna worry about it. This is my first asparagus bed. They seem to be doing okay in there. I don't think they're getting near enough sun. They seem to do okay, but I don't really get a whole lot of asparagus off of it. I mean, I'll come out here and I'll pick one or two occasionally and eat it, but there's not really enough for a mess at any one time. It does taste good. Okay, next little area. Tomatillo going absolutely berserk. So there's fruit on there. I've never grown these before. I'm just waiting for them to mature. But they look like little Chinese lanterns just without the lights. And you can see on the stems all the little hairs trying to make new suckers. So I may even kind of root some of these and make more plants, either to sell or just to propagate. Broccoli rabe, there's a cabbage hiding in there, another tree spinach. Next bed, more onions, another okra, basil, and I really am just interplanting anything and everything. No real rhyme or reason, because this is my home garden. I do sell a little bit out of this, but home garden. It's interesting how much bigger the bulbs on some of these onions are in some of these older beds they're all no dig, but I have added leaves and chicken waste and compost to over the years. The onions that I just got a sampler of intermediate day ones, and there was like three different onions, white, yellows, and reds. No rhyme or reason, and I just planted them at the community garden and here and in the hugel bed. These are the same ones that are in hugel bed, and these are so much bigger. So soil makes a huge difference. That's a kohlrabi. Got actually a couple kohlrabi up on the hugel bed as well. There's another tree spinach, some more sorrel, more brassica. That may be a spinach or kale in there. Of course, more onions, more sorrel, cucumbers, more onions there, more of the fava beans. There are some, so I should at least get enough, and they need to dry out. So I don't know if I'll get enough really to eat, but at least enough for seed for next year. And I'm just going to keep trying until I get it right. When there's a hole, I'll stick something in there. So there's another okra, there's a squash in there. Those cucumbers need to get going. This bed of onions will probably, most of them will be coming out very soon. And then I can plant maybe some more bush beans or something of that nature in there. Those cucumbers are finally starting to take off and go up the trellis. I need to pull that, train that up. I threw 3 eggplant in here. There's a couple of lettuce in there. There's some turnips. I was really gonna do for the turnip greens, but looks like they've gotten past the green stage and maybe some flea beetles or something getting on them, so I may be pulling them soon. Pepper plant right there, another red Reuben, more onions, another 3 rhubarb, so that's mainly a rhubarb bed, but of course I don't leave empty space. So there are some onions and some kale. I have already picked some of the kale and sold that. Got some Aurora peppers. So they start off kind of purple and they'll be green and red. So it's a lot of people do them as an ornamental, but they are a medium hot to hot Tabasco sized peppers. It's a little bit of fennel. That's a kale, I believe. Got seeded somehow. A little bit of a mixed kale bed. Merlot spinach, or Merlot lettuce, I'm sorry, Merlot lettuce. Couple of squash, some basil in here. I've got a pepper plant there, I've got a basil plant there, I've got pole beans coming up. 2 different kinds of potatoes, probably within the next month. They're starting to change a little bit. I pulled one plant up that had died. It didn't have a huge production, and no bigger than the plants are. I don't expect a huge amount, but enough to eat on. The beans, pole beans, obviously I put stuff pretty darn close, and I've been trying to go in every once in a while, and if I see one like this that's crossing over, I'll try to reroute him, mainly just so that I still have an aisle to get in between there to be able to harvest. It's another basil plant, 3 different tomato plants, and another squash plant. Then we have the compost. Hope you're not dizzy. Compost bin, they're about 4 by 4 by 4, and the way that I open the doors, I've just got them on hinges, and then they latch with these little cheap little carabiners, and then each one of those can open. Just might as well go into a greenhouse. This is new for me. This greenhouse is brand new for me. Harbor Freight, used the coupon and everything, got it a little bit cheaper. Kind of a potting station. Had a few things growing in here. There's actually an okra plant that came up. That's one of those Banksia queens. Plant is struggling, but I'm getting a couple of tomatoes off of it. One of the stripy tomatoes. Kale plant enough for a quick little salad. Fennel going to flower. And if it's going to go to flower, maybe I'll at least be able to keep the seed, even though I do have some more seed. Even this old tomato plant is struggling. A couple of little reds. Sorry, gotta eat them. Squash plants should have already been out. You're struggling. These are suckers off of some of the tomatoes. As I've been pruning, I'll just organize them and root them in there. So Napa, these I have no idea. There were question marks. Got a couple of jars of those. Got some golden mini nuggets. Asparagus. These were started from seed. There's a place, kind of a little homestead tourist attraction about an hour away. I went to one day, and when I was there, they had an asparagus plant. Some of it had gone to seed. The seed was ripe. I kind of stripped off a few, hung on to them, and those. So I have no idea what variety, but they obviously grow in this area. So I started those, and I'm just letting them go out, and then I'll transplant them out at some point. These tomato plants are actually the first set of suckers that I rooted. I've been selling them for $2 to $3 up to $3 plant at the farmers market, and they are Dr. Witchy's. So that concludes the home garden tour. Looks like 31 minutes there. Okay, garden number 2. This is the actual community garden, which is just behind the police station in Marion, Arkansas. Police station being on Highway 77. We'll see if we don't keep from getting drowned out by train sirens. Leaves left over from the fall. This is my mulch pile, and it's composting down. Occasionally I do put some stuff some coffee grounds or whatever in there, and try to get it to compost a little bit. We have put loads of leaves over much of the property just to increase the organic material, and you can tell it when you're walking on it. Okay, we have a violet de Bordeaux fig. This is a cutting off of one of my trees that I had in a pot, doing pretty well, so I transplanted it out here. The wicker surround is actually grape vines that were donated, and the 5th grade gifted and talented class from the school about a block away actually did the majority work on that. Hay bales that have been opened up as kind of a mulch. Some of the compost, we did do one good thing of composting, made a ring or a circle out of that, and there are some tomatoes. So trying to make a little keyhole garden kind of in that area. This is one of the raised beds. All the contents, the quote soil in there is really just composted down wood chips from the city that sat behind Bacon Auto Salvage in West Memphis for about a year, got turned a couple times by Mr. Bacon, Jake Bacon there, and then ended up coming back here as the original material to start building the soil in these beds. So then we've been growing in them and adding a few organic amendments to try to get it to compost down. There was garlic in this area that has come out. I had a few beets, pulled them out today. What is in here now coming up is actually peanuts. So my first time trying peanuts. My grandfather used to grow them a little bit, but this is what these are, just Tennessee Reds from Baker Creek. Actually, I've bought just raw peanuts at Tractor Supply a couple of times, meaning to plant those, and ended up eating them. So anything with a flag has something planted, and for the life of me, I have already forgotten what I planted here. I'll find out when it comes up. There were peas on this trellis. They've already come out. Cucumbers, straight 8 cucumbers, I do believe. On this trellis, there are some tomatoes. These tomatoes were donated by a gentleman in the area, and they were planted by one of the special ed classes from one of the local Marion schools as well. So they came out kind of for a field trip, and the T-post actually came from the bus barn where the school buses are from Marion. I actually drive for them part-time, and these have been stacked up, most of them bent pretty bad. So I asked, and they said, sure, you can have them. So they're out here helping the community garden. With the tomatoes, of course, more basil. Can you tell I like basil? So there's again one of the Momelows and one of the red Rubens over on the side. Here is some okra. This was planted by a fourth grader that came out to the garden 2 or 3 times. Seemed to be very interested, so I had him plant some of the okra. It's been thinned out a little bit. There's some Clemson spineless and some burgundy in there, or Alabama red. I'm not sure which one, but they will start producing here very soon. They're getting very close to starting to produce. More potatoes. I got several different kinds of organic seed potatoes from Irish Eyes Company, and I have planted them at my house and out here. 2 more rows of okra. They're still going to need a little bit more thinning as they come up, but as they grow, I just start thinning out the shorter, weaker ones, and the ones that are look to be healthier I leave until they look. Okay, another squash plant, and that one is a yellow scallop or patty pan in there. Had some donated pepper plants, and they just don't seem to be doing much. They don't look very much different than when I planted them. But there's a few of them in there. I need to pull a little bit of the grass out to give them some room. Here is the onions, and I harvested maybe half of those today. Some of the donated tomatoes, again using the same T-post, just some string or whatever happens to be handy. A little bit of pruning at the bottom to keep some leaves off the ground. So they seem to be fairly healthy, not going full guns yet, but they seem to be doing okay, except for the one at the end that died. These blue flags are indicating cantaloupe. So I put cantaloupe out here from saved seed and given them plenty of space. This whole area was planted in greens last fall. We had turnip greens or turnips in the front. We had mustard greens in the middle, and the kale is actually still here. I've mowed it down a couple of times. It overwintered, but I've mowed it down. People could actually pick this. I mean, where it's at right now, the size and everything that it's at right now, it's perfectly edible right now. I mean, you can make a lot out here. We've got plenty of open space. That's about where we ended with the leaves for the most part. This is exactly the way we found it. A couple of challenges on this site. We have 2 residential lots. It is still city land. We do not own this. We have nothing in paper. It is a handshake deal with the mayor. We may be here for another 5 or 10 years, and we may get asked to leave at any time. So try not to do too much permanent. But a couple of challenges. That is a black walnut tree, and that is a black walnut tree. So we have to worry about the juglone and what we plant close to it. But that can be worked around. There's also poison ivy on a lot of these trees, and I am extremely allergic to it. But I have come out here and with some shears or something, and I try to get in there and cut it off at the base and try to at least keep it at bay. Obviously this one I didn't get all of them. I need to do some more work. If anybody happens to be in the area that's not allergic to poison ivy, I would love some help. And some of this is just Virginia creeper, but there is poison ivy in there. This area back here where the leaves are, last year I had okra that I just kind of broadcast and ignored. Literally just kind of took a handful, threw it around, walked on it, left it alone, and we did get a decent little harvest off of that. And then there were some rows of bush beans, wax beans, that the most I did, I mean, it looked just like this, and all I did is took a hoe, made a little trench, put some beans in there, covered them up. Wow, this thing keeps stopping. And so anyway, we had an interplanting of wax beans and okra last year. Then I put a bunch more leaves on it. And this is bloody butcher corn. Expected to actually get a lot taller than that, but hopefully, okay, freed up a little bit of space. Anyway, this is bloody butcher corn, and hopefully I'm going to get enough. I had 30 seeds in the packet, planted all of those, and hopefully I'll get enough off of this to at least save seed for the next year, at least a jar full. I did put some Cushaw squash out here. They're kind of struggling, and if they don't do something pretty quick, I'm probably going to replant. And here's the black walnuts, and I try to get these out of the way because these will break down, and as they break down, they will inhibit the growth of some other plants. That's usually this time of year something to deal with. Okay, we'll go up to the kids' garden. This is supposedly and primarily the 5th grade gifted and talented class garden. 5th grade went out. Now the 4th graders will be coming up, and hopefully they'll be taking over this. There is a cabbage there. There is some basil. I got 3 different basils there. There are tomatoes, just in some cages that I threw in there and didn't have enough cages, so I just put some string between there to kind of trellis them up, and they are heavily loaded. And look at all those blooms. So if they do well, and again, this is wood chips, leaves on top, and have had some other amendments to try to help it break down and create soil. But we did not buy compost. We did not bring soil in. The wood is cedar that I got from a local mill. It's repurposed from fallen trees. So we have some squash there. We have some squash there. We have horrible vine borers, squash vine borers here. And so I'll see how long those last. I've already just had to pull one out of here that was huge plant, but of course borers got it and they're done. Tomatoes, looks like some beans. The looks of this plant, there's a squash plant in there, but the looks of this big one and the way the stalks are coming up, I don't remember for sure, but I believe this may be a watermelon. Do believe this may be a watermelon, so that will be exciting. There's a pepper plant hiding down in there. Another little tomato kind of struggling. Pretty blooms. There's a cucumber, and I've already gotten some cucumbers off of this. If I come out here and find one, I typically just kind of eat it as I'm looking around and working. We have Egyptian walking onions. These are some pole beans that should be climbing up, red noodle beans, I do believe. There looks like to be a tomatillo, another tomatillo, and that's pretty much this part. Perennial bed, and there's a train coming. I'm hearing it in the distance coming. Perennial bed, artichoke at the end, asparagus. It's kind of trying. There are strawberries that they'll start to do good, and then one will disappear, then another one will pop up, but they're not really going gangbusters yet. There is rhubarb. That one is at least maintaining a little bit. That one pretty much about to die out, so I cut most of the leaves off, put it in the compost pile. Asparagus, this one just died flat. Rhubarb. And then there are 2 kinds of potatoes in that bed, and an artichoke at the end, and probably going to hear a train horn here very shortly. Okay, and we come to garden number 3, and I'm gonna have to go fast because I'm probably about out of space. This is the actual market garden. This is 3 1/4 acres that became available to me about 3 months ago. So the vast majority of the time I've been mowing it, for actually 3 1/4 acres. And the first 2 or 3 times I mowed it, I did it with a push mower. So you can imagine. That little grove over there is paper mulberries, and I've been through there and cleaned out underneath it again. Is mainly just a lot of junk. I mean, there's tires and all kinds of junk in there. But in my mind's eye, I keep seeing a little gazebo or something in there as a refuge. And so far, all I've got out here, that little row has got some raspberries, 4 Navajo thornless raspberries. Or blackberries, blackberries. I was putting raspberries in this row. There's only a couple of them surviving that I dug up from my house. I may redo that, and I may actually put some of the tomatoes out here. This row, and these are 100-foot rows with 20-year landscape fabric, and I'll describe what I'm doing underneath those. But this has got cucumbers separated by nasturtiums and peppers, cucumbers, peppers, cucumbers, peppers, and then 5 zucchinis. And I am starting to get a few cucumbers from this, and they are just plain old straight 8, nothing fancy. This particular row has got okra, believe it or not, and then some winter squash, some small red winter squash in there. This is a new row. I have got 3 different cowpeas. I have got clay. I've got hog's brain, and I can't remember the other one. I've got it written down at the end. So a packet of each there, and then I intersperse that with some more squash. So I'm really trying to intersperse things, and hopefully I've got the cowpeas far enough apart that I might actually be able to save the seed from those. We'll see how that does. This is the latest, the 4th 100-foot row that I've been working on. I was out here yesterday, about 10 to 12 hours, and this is how far I got, and then the storm rolled in. So the good thing about that is there will be moisture underneath there when I finish rolling that out and tucking it in. The way that I make these beds, this is the only place that I do till, mainly because this is an old house plot, and I have been pulling asphalt, bricks, all kinds of stuff, and from about I don't know, 1 to 2 inches down to about 3 to 4 inches down, it's just hard. It's really hard pan, but then underneath that is sandy. So what I've been doing is bringing a broad fork out, and I will broad fork 2 wide all the way down, so at least 200 feet of broad forking in some really hard stuff, digging out big pieces of concrete and asphalt and bricks, enough that I've already bent one of the tines on a brand new broad fork. So anyway, I broad fork it, and the first couple I just broad forked it, tilled it, and then waited for a rain, and then came back and put the fabric on it. One of them actually has horse manure that's been aged underneath it. As the summer's going on and the grass is getting much more lush and stuff, especially all the Bermuda, it's getting tougher and tougher. So this one was broad forked, tilled, then I came back through, broad forked it and tilled it again, started raking as much of the grass as I could out of it. And I probably have tilled it twice, raked it about 4 times to get it to where you see. And then I bring the 20-year landscape fabric out, tuck the ends in, and then use a small torch to burn the holes. And what I'm going to plant in this one, I'm still not absolutely sure. It changes every time I come out here. I want to do some more cowpeas, but what I've got the most of is the hog's brain that I saved last time. But if I do this whole row in hog's brain cowpeas, it will probably cross-pollinate with those, which won't be a big deal unless I want to save the seed. What I'm thinking at the moment is the same way that I burned the holes here in 3 rows, because those are supposedly supposed to be 6 inches apart, and I've got them a foot apart. I'm thinking about burning the holes the same way, only down the center, doing more okra down the center, spacing them out pretty well, but down the sides do wax bush beans, because they come on pretty quick, or some kind of a bush bean. These 4 pretty well is all the 100-foot pieces that I have. I bought two 250-foot rolls of this fabric. So I've got about 50 feet, two 50-foot pieces. So I could either piece them together for another 100 foot or use them as 50 footers or make squares. I mean, I could cut them into squares and maybe out in this area, instead of doing whole rows per se, just do blocks and maybe do like some more winter squash or something, so that I'd have like a 4 foot by 4 foot square, and right smack in the middle of that do one squash plant and then separate those out. That way I'd get the most efficient use out of those pieces and cover more. But if I put the a bush bean here, I may even go ahead and just straight till up another 100 or 200 feet or however long that is. Just go ahead and till it up and put some more like wax beans, bush beans or something. I won't have the fabric down, so the weed pressure may be a little more intense. However, just give it a try, see how it does, see if I can keep on top of it, maybe get some hay to help mat it down. This area actually is a former garden spot. The people who have lived here before have tilled this up and either farmed it or had like big long rows of purple hull peas or something. So I don't expect it to be near as hard. I may still broad fork it, but it should broad fork a whole lot easier, and the only thing that's going to keep it from tilling easy is all the grass. But this is officially the location of Hippocrates Garden. It is on the corner of Medill, Marconi, and Military Road in Marion, Arkansas. The official address is now 601 Military Road. I just need to get a sign up. If you're still watching at this point, you are a glutton for punishment. But I thank you very much. Thank you.